Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is ghostmutgaming with me, Christopher, and this is Citizensleeper, a game set in a cyberpunk world about making way as basically an individual at the very bottom of the hierarchy, so to speak. And you know what I say, and it's basically a mantra of this channel by now: I can't say no to a good cyberpunk game. So, of course, we have to give this a look. Now, what is Citizensleeper? Well, it's basically a heavily narrated little game. Basically, you are gonna hear my voice quite a lot, because there is no voiceovers whatsoever, and there's a lot of text. So I will be reading quite a lot, and it's an interesting story. Not gonna lie, there's definitely a depth to this game that I appreciate very, very much. I played just a little, just to get my bearings and understand sort of the base idea of the game, and yeah, again, it is interesting. So we shall have a bit of a look at this, but first we need to select a character, and we can choose from the machinist, or the operator, or the extractor. So we start with the machinist. A machinist repairs and modifies automated systems used in industrial resource extraction. Sleepers assigned to machinist work are usually diligent, careful, and structured people. So, sleepers. This is a sleeper, as you can see. Maybe not entirely human, possibly. No. So, the way the game works is that you have a couple of skills: engineer, interface, endure, intuit, and engage. A machinist is good with engineering. Machines are physical tools. With interface, you can work with digital interfaces. With an endure skill, you can use strength or strength of will. As an intuit, you can approach problem with awareness, and engaging means you can sort of bust people's heads. So a machinist would be slightly in the back, I would assume, just tinkering on things and not really being up front with people. The operator works with drones and high-precision remote machines to perform complex tasks from a distance. Sleepers assigned to operator work are usually cerebral and precise people, so they would be good at the interface stuff, but wouldn't really be great at enduring things. And has a cute little drone. Actually, the machinist also has a drone, I suppose. Not a flying drone, but a drone nonetheless. And finally, you have an extractor. So extractors work on resource extraction, often in hard vacuum environments. Sleepers assigned to extractor work are often confident, self-sufficient, and have a high level of endurance. So indeed, they are high-level endurance, but they might not be the most intuitive of sleepers, let's just say. They also have a perk. I actually didn't check the other perks. Sunbathe, dice action, allow energy recovery at home. Yes, we will get to dice action. The operators has transfer intercept, just against cryo on interface option. Sorry, actions. And cryo is the currency, I believe. Good thing that I know that. And the machinist has chance to gain random scrap item or engineering actions. Now, here's the thing, I kind of like the machinist. I do enjoy the fact that we will be working machines and physical tools, just tinkering away with things. I mean, the operator could be interesting, but I'm thinking that having a bit of endurance would be nice. And the extractor isn't really so much for me. So the way that these skills work, we will obviously see when we are in the game, but there will be situations where we will interact with other people, and these will come into play. So I will be better at things that demand me to tinker with things, but if there's someone, let's just say, being a bit of a bully, for example, I might not be the best one to deal with that. But that's all you kind of need to know. So let's head into the game and see what's up. The first thing you become aware of on waking is the disconnect, the delay between thinking and feeling, between wanting to act and acting. Minor, almost imperceptible, but always present. Yes, so now we have, this is the basic menu. We have items and data. We don't really have so much items or data. This is the cryptocurrency. Because of course cryptocurrency is the deal in the future. Yes. So we have 0 of those, we don't have any data at all, and we are currently in the unknown. This is the location, and the question is posed: where are you? Yes. So, it's at its worst when waking, when yourself has spent many dark hours recalling what it felt like to be real, to be a person, to be in a body that was indisputably yours. So now we get into some, I suppose, metaphysical thoughts about just existing. No, we'll think of that body. What was it like? A leap into a cold lake on a hot day, the sting of blood welling from a fresh wound, the friction of a fingertip. All of a sudden the memories are closer than you thought, blurring as you approach, until you can't tell one from the other. And the cold slips in, behind and around you, and the sensations fade out of reach. Perhaps you should be thankful for the dulled nature of this new body, given your current circumstances. The walls of the container feel immediately present, cold, hard, at your back and face, cramping your limbs. Alright, then we are in a good spot here. You resist the desire to stretch, knowing that the claustrophobia comes next, and retreat a little from your central nervous system. It isn't painful, not like you used to know pain, at least. In emergency mode, pain is a message delivered with efficiency and ease, a reminder that harm is imminent. There is no insistent throb, no trembling nerves, just a warning delivered with the banal quality of a digital notification. Right now, there are thousands of them. Ooh, bad. So apparently I can remember a plan or the others. Who are the others? Remember, there were 10 of you. 10 that could no longer stand the indentured work, the routines, the slow decay. 10 whose belief in their promised future was slowly dismantled day by day, until they realized that had sold away everything that could and would ever matter. 10 that would escape, or at least die trying. Some were lost in the shaft, others never found a meeting point, only a few made it to the containers. But the fighter, as far as you know, left. That feels like enough. Enough to know that you might not longer be on that grim and heartless rock. Even if, in the airless hole of a freighter, you might freeze solid long before you reached any destination. So I could wait for the cold, or I could try to rest. You know what? I mean, we're probably in a pretty damn bad spot, but at least trying to rest could be feasible. But you are restless, so probably not a good thing, no. It has been a long time since you left, surely weeks, maybe months. You are dully aware of damage to your legs, your right arm. You have been reserving energy as much as possible, but your body has still needed to shut down many of its systems to protect you. You have spent much of that time asleep, knowing that anything else would be impossible to endure. So yes indeed, as I said, we are most likely not necessarily human after all. We are indeed parts of a whole, if you would, and some of those parts have indeed shut down. You feel the weight of that impossibility begin to gather. It is time to sleep again, to nudge this false body into inducing delta waves in your emulated mind, and once again recoil into a dream of when you were once a person. So let's have a bit of a rest. Time passes, the cold creeps further in. You feel something. Warmth, not true warmth, but the indication of its presence. Your joints release from the rigor. Sound too, everywhere, screeching and shimmering so loud that your body ducks your hearing to protect its sensors. The light. White as the cold, softer and softer, until in a haze of dirty yellow, a figure appears. You are out. And we are indeed out. So this is the sort of station-ish that we have arrived at. We can scroll up and down, check it out a little bit. Now, obviously, this early in the game, not much is opened to us, and we need indeed talk to Dragos, a Pragmatic Salvager. Hello, Dragos, that is Dragos. Pragmatic and Private Salvager. It has been a few hours since Dragos pulled you from the container. You sit huddled in a corner of his scrapyard, swaddled in the reflecting folds of a mylar blanket. You are slowly coming back to your consciousness, back to life, and you stare at the ornately curving element of an improvised heater. Lovely. You're surrounded by angular, incoherent lumps of chips, some corroded beyond recognition, others still carrying glassy wounds along their edges where a plasma arc sliced them apart. As you trace their shapes with fogged eyes, you hear a voice. So, Sleeper, you all thawed yet? I can be responsive here, or just stay silent. I'll be responsive. I'm almost thawed out. Never seen one of you come in like this. New frames must have better perseverance in Sub-Zero vac. Seen more than a few of you frozen solid to hull place or inside outer locks in my time. They weren't so lucky. When Dragos comes into focus, shoved in a makeshift tech, his headset with its glinting eyes, the mark of a drone operator. So he's the second class. On his shoulder, one of his symbiotically linked drones perches, its irising eye locking you with an unflinching stare. So, Possibly flying or not, I don't know. Last living sleeper that came through this yard was a while ago. They didn't last long. You struggle to read his expression beneath the tech, but he seems lost in memory for a moment. Or perhaps he's just figuring out what to do with you. So again, could stay silent if I wanted to, but as I do seem to be a little bit mindful of the people I were with, or possibly others as well, what actually happened to those who didn't survive. And he ignores my question, bloody hell. I want to ask what led you to do it, to sell yourself to a corporation. And I suppose you know you can't go back. Your old body, that's theirs now, and you're just software. A rogue emulation illegally possessing corporate property. Well, that's just great. And also, yes, very cyberpunky, wouldn't you know? You nod along, you remember biometrically signing the forms, the cold floor on your feet as you padded to the sleeper cells. The promise of a life off-world, but as you do, you get the now familiar sensation that these aren't your memories. These are things you know, but not things you feel. You're no longer that person, you're an offshoot, a copy. Yes, we are probably, indeed, a copy. So that's interesting. What you won't know is what's ahead. At least that last one didn't. There's no easy way to put it, that part of yours is falling apart. It's the same for any sleeper who makes it out. As an ARP, the company, wants to protect their property, but if they can't keep hold of you, well, then no one can. Yes, that is very corporate, isn't it? Or corporatory? I don't know if that is a word. You remember that too, or at least rumors of it from the other sleepers. Planned obsolescence. A built independence on the regularly administered supplements that were part of your routine. Start taking them and your body begins to shut down, separate from your emulated mind. How long has it been? How long do you have? But for now, sleeper, you're one of the lucky ones. Ragos glances up and away towards the glassy dome of the yard. The eye is the best place you could be right now. What do you mean, the eye? The station. Ah, there we go. You'll see it soon enough. Dragos impatiently shifts his weight. Look, I got things to be getting on with. He trails off, and there's an old freight container I've been using as a storage out in the stacks. We haven't been pulling in that much valuable scrap these days, so you're welcome to it. Lovely. Something wells up inside of you. Emotion, fatigue. You shakily get to your feet and nod. Alright, you head up on there. You look like you need some rest. And with that, Dragos stalks back into the Rex, his drones already converging on a rusting hollow plasma flashes silhouetting his spindly figure as he returns to work. And there we go. And we get some tutorial of this place. So, Erlin's Eye, that is the station. So Life and I runs in cycles, during which you can talk to characters, explore areas of the station, and perform actions. At the end of each cycle, you need to head to your current home to rest, and resting will move time forward on the station. So now we head to the empty container location to rest and end this cycle. So again, as this is the beginning of the game, we obviously don't really have so much of a choice. So we go to our little home, I suppose it's one of these things. Possibly even that one. So let's end this cycle. Ah, it's a new day, and indeed we are now in a container, 4 steel walls. Or probably it's actually 6. Well, okay, fine. The walls, yes. We also have a steel floor and a steel ceiling, I suppose. You wake up curled up in the corner of the container and begin slowly assembling the world around you. As you do when you wake up. After all this time, you still find this body, the one you wake in now, strange and disjointed. Its message is readable, but somehow wrong. You sit up, pulling the mylar blanket close against the cold. Here you are, on this ruined station. Is it ruined? Possibly. Millions of miles from anyone you know. Are you still in the system? Did any of the others make it out? It's impossible to know. After all this, what matters? So I suppose, yeah, we can get some... I don't know exactly how much these make a difference. Other things that come up will definitely make a difference, but for these, I'm not entirely sure. But of course, we could say that we want to escape this place and get somewhere else. Getting answers, not entirely sure what that means. I don't exactly know what answers we're thinking about, and I could also start building a life. I could be sort of down to station, not down to earth, obviously, about building a life here, or I could get out, but you know what? Possibly building a life before escape is a good idea, because come here and it's been arduous, maybe we shouldn't be so quick to get out of here. So let's start building a life, damn it. Maybe you did get lucky finding yourself here. Maybe here, on the edge of everything, there's a life for you to build. But before you can build anything, you'll need to learn to survive. Maybe if you can do that, you can make a life for yourself. Oh, that's lovely. Dragos has left a few comforts in the container: the minor blanket, the bedroll you slept on, a canister of water, a makeshift electric stove, and some faded sachets of some desiccated powder. Possibly coffee. You thumb the powder stud of the stove and begin to boil the water. The contents of the sachet smells like damp wood, and you sprinkle them into the liquid. As the pungent smell washes over you, images from your restless sleep come back to you. A ring, like the station, but skeletal and ghostly. A web of threads pulling at your skin. A constellation of bright polygonal shapes, like angry suns, burning into your mind. There's something unpleasantly visceral about these images, and it is long after you've finished drinking before they begin to fade. You tidy away the stove as best you can and try to gather enough energy to greet the day. Alright then, so now we're getting into the interesting bit. So, condition, action dice, and energy. Those are the things up here. So, condition, the first little bars over at the top, it represents the current state of your artificial body. Depletes by one segment each cycle, but can also be damaged by violence, injury, or lack of food. If your condition bar empties, you will suffer a breakdown. You'll have to figure out how to recover your condition now that you no longer have access to corporate pharmaceuticals that were keeping you alive. So, important. Now the action dice, because yes, this almost plays a little bit like a board game in that regard. So we are rolling dice every cycle. So at the start of each cycle, you roll your action dice. These dice can be used to perform actions on the station. The number of dice rolled is based on your current condition. The worse your condition, the fewer dice you have. Once you've used your dice, you cannot take any further actions and then must rest to recover them, ending the current cycle. So be careful about these. And lastly, we have energy. You also need to eat to survive. This is represented by your energy bar. You can fill your energy bar by eating, but first you'll have to find somewhere to get food. Your energy depletes by 2 segments each cycle. If it becomes empty, you will be starving. When starving, energy loss becomes condition loss. When starving, energy loss becomes condition loss. Your condition will also deplete at a double rate per cycle. So, yeah. Make sure to bloody eat. Gotcha. So this is where we are. We are now fairly open, I would say. But let's have a bit of a chat with Dragos first. He stood in the corridor when you close up the container. So he's still wearing his headset, and the harsh light of the corridor, you realize it is implanted. A drone sits on his shoulder, his cache of sensor eyes rapidly arising. How are you feeling? Well, probably not so good, no. The drone chirps. Dragos nods. You notice that beneath the operator's rig, his skin is marked by burns and blotches. I know the container isn't much, but it'll keep you safe. He pauses. So, I'm not going to chit-chat too long. You want enough to work? What do you mean by work? Well, look, I'll be honest with you, Sleeper. I didn't pull you out of that container out of the goodness of my heart. Well, fair enough, I suppose. At the yard, it's simple stuff. We hack these old hulls down, sell them off to the shipyards, or the bright market dealers for cryo. Occasionally we pull out some tech, something with a bit more value, but most of what comes in is scrap. It's hard to find good hands here, but I figure as a sleeper, you'll be used in manual labor. And obviously, I'll slip you a few shits of commission based on what you turn up. What do you mean by shits? These. He pulls out a handful of small metal bars. Air-walled cryo, isolated from the market. It's what we use for trade out here, and he stuffed them back in his pocket. He shuffles his feet nervously. Look, I wouldn't usually do this. In my opinion, you'd be best with moving on as quick as you can. And sleepers, well, but things are the way they are, and they are rather. But things being the way that they are for me at the yard, I need their help. Well, what's up? What's up with the yard? Things are a little tight, that's all. I owe a little cry to a client here or there. And he pauses, thinking of something else to add. Look, just come down to the yard when you're feeling fresher. There's plenty to do. Alright then. He nods distractedly and turns and walks away, the drone hopping along ahead of him. See you later, he calls back. Look like it's time to get to work. Alright then, well, so far not much else has opened up. We do have access to Low End Gate, a passage into the low end. We don't need to worry about that right now. And indeed, nothing else is open up for now, so we are a little bit in tutorial land still. Yes, indeed. Actions! So, this might look complicated, but it's actually not terribly complicated. So, actions are primary ways to interact with the world of Citizen Sleeper. To perform an action, click and drag your action, or your chosen action dice to the slot. So, there are a couple of different things, we'll get to that. So, actions reward you with clock progress. Energy, condition, or items depending on the outcome. There are 3 types of outcome. You have a positive outcome, the action goes better than expected. Neutral, it just succeeds. Or negative, the action has failed. So action dice affect these outcomes as follows. So if you have a yellow dice, the chance is 100%. Well, actually, a yellow, I'm a little bit unsure what the difference is between these two. I guess it has to do with the... I mean, okay, so this is one thing that I don't think I've understood just yet. The yellow tint. Is that always present on 6 and 5? And is it always half on 3 and 4 and 0? Or rather, non-existent on the 1 and 2? Possibly. But basically, if you have a dice that has 6, you can be 100% positive that it will be a positive outcome. If it's a 5, it's a 50-50% chance. If it's a 2 or 3, not 2 or 3, 3 or 4, 50% chance of being neutral, and then 25 and 35 of being either positive or negative. And with a 1 and 2, it's either 50% neutral or negative. So there's no dice, as far as I can tell, that is 100% negative. But the lower it is, obviously, the worse it's gonna be. So, action displays information about their type, risk level, and the skill and modifiers that apply to that action. So we can see, for example, if there would have been a machinist here, that would be something that would have been good for me. So there would be a +1. There can also be critical or repeatable types. So indeed, repeatables, well, they are repeatable. You can do them multiple times. Critical actions only once. The risk is either safe, risky, or danger. If it's safe, no loss of condition or energy or cryo. If it's risky, you can get a cryo or energy loss out of a negative outcome. And if it's a danger, you can even get a negative, or rather a cryo energy loss, even if it's a neutral outcome. So be wary of the danger ones, and maybe try to stay out of risking a negative outcome when doing risky. So the skill that the action requires, either engineer, interface, endure, intuit, or engage, is over here. Or rather, no wait, machinist wouldn't be here. This would be... That would be engineer, right? That is what I have, I think. And finally, the modifier is either -1, 0, +1, or +2. So right now we are only at +1, but presumably as we keep going we could rise that up. And possibly we could also rise other stats, maybe. Alright then, fair enough. So this is now the scrapyard. We are supposed to do something here. So we could go for a hull dissection. I have a 50% neutral, 50% positive. I have a risky one where I can get a negative outcome. Or I have the 50% neutral and 25 positive or negative. We can do repeatable hull dissection, which is good for me, obviously. Still risky, but good for me. I have a plus on that one. Or a manual salvage. I'm thinking, let's just take the 3, whack that in there. So you can now see that we have a 50% neutral, 25 positive, 25 negative. But with our +1, I think... Yeah, exactly, that turns into a 4. You know what? Okay, never mind. Let's approach this cleverly. We can use this. So instead, now that becomes a 5, so we have a 50% positive and a 50% neutral. That's very nice. Let's see how we fare. Bit of work on the hull dissection, and it is a positive outcome. Lovely. So, actions often progress clocks. Clocks are displayed below the action bar that fills them, and they track your actions and how they affect the world. Filling your clock means something good or bad is about to happen. Some clocks, such as the one tracking Dragon's depth, are cycle clocks. These clocks tick themselves once each cycle and can complete without player input. That is a really cool mechanic, by the way. Any active cycle clocks will display the icon for that location. I always enjoy when the game sort of doesn't care too much what the player does, but a player can affect whatever it is that's going on. So the debt called in, I can't do anything about that myself. That will always tick up. And on this occasion, this is obviously a bad one. If this reaches the 8, or I suppose 9, possibly, maybe, and this one hasn't filled up, well, poor Dragos, I suppose. So, yes indeed, we got a positive outcome, and I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I got 15 cryocurrency. Very nice. No data though, sadly. And also we filled up the back in business bar 25%, which is ahead of the debt called in cycle. Alright then, so we are done over here. Don't need to be here anymore. And now, here we go. Drives and navigation. In Citizensleeper you will unlock drives as you discover more about yourself and the world. Drives guide you in pursuing specific objectives, depending on which path you wish to take. You can track drives, and any track drive will place a yellow marker on your location that will help you pursue your goal. So they're called drives in this game. We're talking quests/missions. Access your drive menu via the arrow button on the top left of the screen. You're now free to explore Erlin's Eye and make a life for yourself here. Try tracking a drive to help you survive. Look for food to keep your energy up and a way to recover condition. Fill clocks to progress stories and find new opportunities. Remember to end cycle at your home when you're out of dice. So there we go. We are now in the world and we have a bunch of stuff open up. We have that since before. We have the bright market and bustling open market. That's how you say that. We also have Dock B2, Rotunda Wet Dock. We have the Rotunda Old Dock Terminal. We have Dock C4, Rotunda Wet Dock. Obviously, our old place over here. We have a shipyard. Have Havanash Construction Yards, and that's about it. So we need to figure out what the hell we're supposed to do. Now, I would assume that if we look into this, we have Repair Dragos, fine. That is a drive. We also have the drive to survive, which is... Okay, I suppose we don't really have a yellow ball right now, right? No. We do have the yellow clocks. I'm thinking those are just, yeah, salvage sortie. Takes several cycles to reach the starboard belt and return. Load the scrap from all the wreckage. So we kind of don't get to do anything here. We need to wait 4 cycles for this to fill up, and then something happens. And I suppose this is the same, but slightly longer. So Helion Crossing. Merchants willing to run the gauntlet of the Helion system are rare, but those that do always return eventually. So there will be merchants in here eventually. So while we are able to, you know, do a little bit whatever, we're kind of locked in that there isn't so much to do here. Why don't we check out the market? Doesn't market seems like a really good thing? Yes. So we have a couple of critical actions. Well, actually, one critical action. We can ask for directions. So why wonder when there are hundreds of people that live and work within the bright market? All you need is a courage to approach them or explore the market. The smells, sounds, and the buzzing activity of the bright market makes it a dizzying place to wander, but an enticing one too. So I could go for a danger, but here is where I have issues. I have a minus on engage, and it's also a danger one, which means that if I fail, which is very likely, if I take even the 5, it jumps down to a 4, which is not good. And neither of these are going to help me, because that's going to go down to, ooh, not good. So let's actually explore the market is what I'm thinking. I'm gonna attempt with a 3 here and see what happens. Can we get a little bit lucky, possibly? We get a positive outcome. Oh, a lot of local knowledge. So the bright market is the busiest part of the eye. This is where we need to get this up. So do I risk this? I think I can't really. We are gonna struggle a bit, obviously, because we are... Yeah, we're struggling here, but this is going to mean that we are definitely going to make this. Possibly we can get something else out of a positive outcome, just not local. No, we actually just got local knowledge. Oh, well. So we have the local knowledge now, which means that if we leave, we have opened up Sabine, a slum doctor, as well as Envy's street food vendor. Why don't we start with the doctor? We need to sort out our issues with are a decaying body, basically. So, at Hab Block, oh, I can't even see the first here. Actually, I might not say anything. Decaying Habitation Block. So, next comes a call from the enforcer to the door. You shuffle down the flickering hallway towards the open apartment door. You keep your head down and your shoulders high in the queue, trying not to bring attention to yourself. You were thankful for the tip-off that a doctor was operating out of this place, but now that you're here, you aren't so sure. The gang enforcer on the door, the flickering light strips, the decaying hab block, they have all made the long queue a test of your nerve. But your options are few, and without a supply of stabilizer, this body, your body, will, yeah, decay at some point. You suppress a shiver and shuffle forward to the front of the queue. You try to find something to distract yourself with. I'm gonna try and... Do I look inside? No, actually, let's eye the enforcer. Who's the enforcer? The enforcer is looking down the corridor, and you dare to glance at him. His purpose is unmistakable. He is there to intimidate, to threaten, and if necessary, carry out those threats. His broad shoulders are framed with a metal exoskeleton. A couple of mirror-like implants sit below his eyes like mercury teardrops. Subsidiary sense input or aesthetic markers, you aren't sure. You also are familiar with the geometric blade-like tattoo on his arm, but you make a note of it. You avert your eyes when he looks back at the queue. Could be... some information, possibly. After a few moments, a figure pushes through the door when you catch a distant voice. Send the next one in, Toshiro. The enforcer jerks his head, you slip inside, passing through the dark entryway and pushing through the plastic sheeting on the far door. The room beyond is bathed in a warm light. A floor-to-ceiling transparent panel gives a full view of the bright, market-sealed roof and the bustling traffic above, and, for a moment, you are transfixed by the motion. Come, sit, calls a sharp voice, and you see a silhouetted figure turn away, replacing the plastic sheeting over the frame of a simple folding bed. You make your way across the room. The figure turns, and as they do, you see an expression of confusion flash across their features. They open their mouths as if to speak, they blink, and they quickly regain their composure. So, Sabine, a doctor in the bright market. She has a big old case of presumably doctor stuff, and I do like the poncho, kinda cool. And alright, there you are, please sit. They gesture to the bed, then turn to an open case of tools on the table. You sit, Sabine turns, a compact diagnostic scanner of some kind in their hand. They hold it to their eye. Remain still, please. Their tone is clipped and businesslike. You stare ahead, still dazed from their expression when you first entered. Fear, recognition, sadness, unmistakably etched across their face. How long have you been on the station? They ask. The scanner is still to their eye. Well, not... okay, it is probably a few cycles. They nod. It's good that you came to me. You set the diagnostic scanner on the table. I'm going to start by assuming you don't know anything. They take your arm and roll up your sleeve, inspecting your synthetic skin. Your body's dying. They say it without ceremony, without drama, but not without empathy. Oh, that's nice. SNR doesn't like to see its proprietary technology get loose. To prevent bodies like yours, frames, as they call them, from being stolen, repurposed, or in your case, escaping, they built in a process of so-called planned obsolescence. Yes, we do know about this. Frames decay rapidly when not regularly injected with stabilizer, one which as an ARP remains the sole producer of course. Sound familiar? Yes indeed. Well, how would you know this? Well, shift in their seat, you aren't the first sleeper I've encountered. You wait for more, but they go back to their inspection. They swap to your other arm, running some thin metal device over your skin. You feel your forearm tremble. Well, I'm sorry, Sabine says, and you're unsure if they mean for the cold touch, or of the metal or anything else. Emulations like you, sleepers as most people know you, aren't classified as people in any of the surrogate systems. You have no rights, no status. They focus hard on the inspection of your arm, and as an ARP has no reason to really release stabilizer into the market. Well, isn't that just positive for us? Sabine looks up as if to apologize again, but they stop themselves. Although little of this is of use to you, they turn away, disassembling the metal instrument and cleaning it. Silence fills the room as Sabine works, and then the silence gives way to tension. You stare at their back, wanting them to say something. Anything. Sabine turns to face you. I may be able to help. They sigh, and you see the darkness under their eyes, hear the fatigue in their voice. They gesture to the door. You saw Toshiro outside? Well, he works for my benefactor, Yatakan. They are influential in the low end. They give me the space to work, run the door, and take the profits. At the same time, I had to fix up their enforcers, tend to their implants, sew up their wounds. Alright, and they look away. But Yatagan has connections, smugglers from the Starboard Belt, mercenaries working for the corporations on Ember. If they can source the stabilizer, maybe you'll have a better chance. Okay. Sabin's standard slate or nose complete. This is dangerous. It will be expensive, but I think we can do it. Well, why would you actually help me? Sabine walks away to the window, their face dappled by the shadows of passing drones. Let's just see if this works first. I'll let you know when I have a lead. You nod and leave, Sabine still staring out, unmoving. When you reach the lower level of the market, you look back up through the panels on the roof to see if you can see their face, but the room looks dark against the lights of the market. You duck your head and walk off into the crowd. Well, we do have a lead indeed. So now we have apparently build a ship mine. So you've heard talk of a fabricator owned by the Ort Exchange. With that and a few fragments you could build a ship mined core. And we can get access to an Ort fabricator. I have no idea what that is. Possibly you got that from the market, which... Do I not have access to the market anymore? Has that changed to Ort Exchange? Alright, fine. We still have a need to feed, because we know that if this drops to 0, we're in bad shape. So, food. Food seems to be a good thing, right? So, Emphis, who are you? An imposing street food vendor, apparently. Yeah, here's... well, he's chock full of stuff to eat, I suppose. I like the... whatever the hell, like onions or something at the back there. That's a nice way to carry food. So, Emphis is busy, his broad face uplit by the makeshift gas burner in front of him. With precise, delicate movements, he lays thick chunks of marinated fungus onto a dented wok, his other hands idly tossing a metal bowl of sliced vegetables and some red-flecked dressing. The smell is incredible. You watch as he fulfills a set of orders, heaping the fungus with a bright salad and deposing it in plastic trays. A stack of chits rattles in his apron pockets as customers file past the burner, handing over payment. I'll be a little bit on the back here, just keep watching. Despite the queue, Emphis doesn't rush. He dresses each portion individually, squeezing precise slugs of liquid from an assortment of bottles into the bowl of torn leaves and bright slices, before tossing them loosely together. Occasionally, a waiting customer might mutter something about efficiency, but Emphis remains steady in his process. After a while, the queue fades back into the crowd and Emphis sets down his metal bowl and looks up across the burner to see you, watching him. I can feel the rice burning a hole in my bowl. Free sample. Oh, well, that's just great. Sure. He gestures neatly. Come over. The smell is almost unbearably strong as he cooks. The earthiness of the fungus, laced with something so spicy the smoke makes your eyes water. The heat from the burner is like a bonfire and your skin hardens in its glare. Ooh, I like spicy food. This sounds great. I know you sleepers, Emphis says while he cooks, his voice deep but clear. A hard life, a lot of stories. He glances up from beneath his cap with piercing eyes, and I know. Ooh, I can tell him a story. Lovely. You begin to tell him about your journey to the eye, and he nods as he cooks, his eyes never leaving his work. You tell him of the confusion, the pain, but also the sense of possibility, and its sudden arrival. You tell him of the cold and dark of the container, and the endless cycles spent within it. Now it seems you tell him like some dream that you once had but can never forget. You tell him that the eye excites you and scares you, and you're unsure where to walk, where to look, what to do. Eventually, you tail off, running out of words. He places a plastic tray of steaming fungus in your hand. Next time we can talk some more, he smiles. But next time, you pay. Of course, I do have some shits, you could get some now. Alright, he slaps a heavy hand against the bottom of the burner's side and shuts it off. The roar of the flame and the suppressive heat fades. Next time then, sleeper. Lovely. He waves you away and begins to oil the wok. Before you turn back to the alley, you notice the geometric patterns of circular scars across his forearms. Yes, we can see them here. Each surrounded with a constellation of glinting pin marks. You walk away, and as you do, you take a bite of the rich, spicy, delicately sweet fungus. Your taste sensors light up like a fusion reactor. He'll be back. Oh yeah, fill that right up. And also a new drive. We have Get to Know Emphis. We do want to know him, apparently. So Emphis loves two things, stories and food. Maybe you supply him with both, you can hear his story. Cool. Now, we could of course keep exploring, but I would actually not mind going back to Dragos' yard and work a little bit, because I am indeed an engineer, so with this 2, if we whack that in, it actually becomes a 3, and we have a little bit of a higher chance of getting some positive outcomes over here. So let's end this cycle by doing that. We get neutral outcome. Bit of back in business, only 1 on this occasion, so we got 2 when we got the positive outcome, but we still get the 15 shits, so we're up to 30, very nice. Still no data, sadly. And with that, it is actually time to end this cycle. We need some more dice. We gotta keep going with the food, etc, etc, but yeah, let's make it into the next cycle. But before we get to do that, this time you don't wake up. Instead of the ghost of the station, that shifting skeletal ring surrounds you. For a moment you're gone, absent from your own body, stretched out across a colorless void. Then the connections begin to establish themselves, threads tugging at the edge of your mind. These threads become vectors of exchange and then extensions, as you feel your thoughts slipping away down them, dissolving into the millions of distributed nodes they connect to. You see the station? No, you feel the station, like a web of texture in a smooth black liquid. Alright, do we observe or touch? Touch seems possibly dangerous, so you know what, let's just observe. Even though you have no eyes, no sight, you can feel the map of the station. No, not the map of the station, but the map of its connections. It's a looped cloud with spokes and spires that jut out into space. It is an ingrown thing full of obsolete loops and severed pathways. It is a system, a map, and a territory all at once. You notice a tugging feeling pulling at you insistently, as if it were a small child. Somehow, it is pulling in 2 directions at once. You look down. All of a sudden, everything shuts off. You come back trembling into this unfamiliar body, but yours and not yours all at once. You find yourself standing in the container, eyes now open to the dark steel walls. You feel a change within you, a shift. You close your eyes for a second, and you feel it waiting there, the station splayed out across your mind. A storm of connected nodes waiting to be explored, and then it's gone. And we are in a new day. Got some good dice rolls, that's really nice. However, only 3, as we did indeed drop 1 of our conditions down to here. And I assume that we need to be at least in this little bar here to get the 4th dice. And of course, we lost to... what was that? Don't remember the name of that thing, but basically the hunger, let's just call it that. And, well... it's the brand new day, or a cycle, if you know what I mean. And we are indeed very open to do whatever we wish to do. Now, I suppose we could go to Emphis in this cycle, but I'm also thinking, I don't know exactly how many of these you get when you eat at his stall, but it feels like it could be a bit of a waste to spend chits on just 2 bars, because we absolutely got 3 bars. That's definitely something we got. So I think we might wait until the next cycle to sort of get back to him. So that's one thing we could do. We can also work on the depth. So the depth to Dragos is this thing down here. So we could just keep working on this, and actually with 2 6s we can get up to here. I mean, I could fix the depth today, so to speak, or in this cycle, because we can get all the sections down and move that all the way up. So one thing that I'm a little bit Dragos put the other salvage to set you up. Perhaps you can repay his kindness in time, but I don't think these pertain to that. He has a debt. Dragos is tied up in something ugly, and if he misses payment or 2, things could get nasty. And the back in business one, every salvager knows they are always just 1 lucky haul away from the next payday. Is this me back in business? This one? If I track this one, if I track that one, I mean, it does say in here, so presumably that is where we need to be. Now, we could do some explorations, and I kind of want to. We are waiting for Sabine, by the way. So this is just a cycle thing. We need to wait 3 cycles for her to have some information. We could, however, check this out, I think. Ooh, no we cannot. That is a total of 60 chits, which I don't have. Is there anything else in the Ort Exchange? Yes, there is. Here we go. So, play the exchange. The flow of chits and components in the exchange is complex, but a sharp eye and some tried traits can net you a good margin. So, what could I get from this? It would be nice if you told me what I could actually get. I could sell components, which I obviously don't have. Do not have any scrap components. If I succeed in these, I can get a trusted trader. So now the ship mine fabrication stack in the back of the market, but only trusted traders get access to it. So we can't really... I don't see that that is important to me right now. What about the ship mine? Where is that? That is... Alright, so those are also in here. Okay, the Ort Exchange. Yeah, okay, so we can't really do much with that either. Those are in those two. Is it only there? Is it only there? No, it's actually also in here. Okay, so that might be connected to this as well. Alright, you know what I think we're gonna do? Since we are still early on in the game, I think that repaying Dragos should be our main priority. And as I said, we have some pretty decent dice, so why don't we just do that? Let's do this one for a guaranteed positive outcome. 15 cryo back in business. We'll do it once more. So that is presumably another 15 cryo. We do have the 60 cryo now, but I don't think I want to spend that on getting into the low end just yet. I think we need to wait for Sabine to have done her thing before we do anything of that. And let's try this again. Hopefully not a negative. It is a 25% chance, but... Oh, did I just get a negative? Oh, bloody hell. Well, that's bad. Now I kind of need to. Alright then, fine. That was a bit sad. Well, I've had some really good outcomes, so, you know, that's fine, I suppose. Fungus fan! Emphasis doesn't trust people easily, but he knows his regular customers in his own quiet way. That's kind of cool. So, Emphasis Spice Fungus is one of the few things potent enough to stimulate your limited taste sensors. It's incredible stuff. Let's posit some cryo. I do want that. So, hey Emphys, hook me up with that. Neutral outcome, energy, fungus fan, and minus cryo. So yes, indeed. Still don't know exactly what the maximum is that you can get from that, but we are getting it to become a fungus fan. I suppose that when we do that, that is when we get to know Emphys starts, so to speak. So in the beginning here of the game, obviously we are a little bit limited in exactly what we can and cannot do. So we are again done with this cycle. We are moving on to the next one. And again, we seem to have some dreams before the day arrives, or the cycle arrives. Again, the skeletal ring of the station fills your mind. It sparkles with glittering lights like stars reflected in a winter lake. It is clearer, crisper than before. The threads still pull, but you remain in place, flickering in the flow. Between the threads you see bright shapes, caches of shimmering light beneath transparent crystal forms. You follow the path of a thread across the ring, through these forms, then leap off into the void. You begin to understand. These are nodes and connections, a map of information, of communication. There are so many layers, so many loops, that it seems almost impossible to parse. But you begin to try. Alright. Would it make more sense to focus on the nodes or the threads? Let's focus a bit on the threads, I think. There are more threads than you can count. You choose one that passes nearby and approach it. As you inspect it, you understand why you instinctively chose the word thread when you first saw them. They are not single lines, but rough, fuzzy things, woven from data strings of all kinds. The threads are nodes, passages, and puzzle boxes. One leads to another. There is so much here, so many answers, so many questions. All you need to do is follow the paths and open the boxes. You look out across this ghost landscape of exchange and see an opportunity. But then, that insistent tugging again, pulling at you. You look down again to see two lines, two threads pulling in different directions, as if they were tied around you. Alright, let's go for the first one. The first thread leads out, away from the station, into the inky black. Someone out there is tracking you, hunting you, following the thread to you. You're in a ship, and the ship is approaching ever closer with each cycle. So presumably, that would be the company, right? Possibly. The second thread leads in, pulling deep into the station. Your gaze follows it, and this time you see something, a sphere, shimmering above a strange angular body. A pulse shoots out from it, passing over you like a torch beam, testing you, tasting you. You open your eyes, time is short. So again, we drop down condition. It's not looking too good. We are still at 3 dice, which is nice, and we're getting hunted now in my place. So someone out there is tracking you, following your trail. It won't be long before they arrive, and we might be well to be prepared for that. So, the cloud. Something has changed inside you. You can now access your data cloud of the eye, a network of decaying protocols and data caches. Caches. While there, you can use dice and items to access systems and extract data. But be careful, these networks are own and strange. Click the eye button at the top of the screen to toggle this view on and off. That's kind of nifty. Alright, so let's just move that a bit. So we have the eye, so now we... Ooh. Well, that's kind of nifty. Haven't played this far, by the way, just so you know. So you have some different kinds of nodes. Yatagan Agent. Oh, are these all... No, it's only the larger ones. So you kind of need to, if I click this, alright, let's see here, data actions, allow you to extract data from the networks of the eye. They work like dice actions, but in order to unlock them, you must match your dice to the one displayed on the right of the action. So you have to have this. If you have a +1 or +2 modifier in the interface skill, you will be given more possible dice to match. You can use any dice that matches the dice displayed. Once unlocked, the data can be extracted. Alright, so I don't actually have the ability to do this. That is where becoming a... or playing as a operator would be quite nice. So here we need a Solheim cipher. So we kind of need different things, apparently. So that for that one we need a 1. Do these change? Or can I sort of remember which one we can go for? I'm not entirely sure. Alright then, anything else open up? Not right now. So let's go back to Dragos' Yard. I want to make sure that we do this one. So I think we're going to go for the 2, because I can get it up to a 3. So that seems reasonable, right? Let's hope for a not negative outcome. Good, positive outcome even. That is now done. So what do I do with this now if I leave? Ah, there we go. Dragos, what do you want to talk to me about now? Hello, Dragos. You arrive in a buzz of activity at your yard. Red blinking lights flash across a vast dark shape suspended below the dome. They flicker across scorched whole place and bent structures, spilling from holes in a twisted shape. The cutter is huge and has been torn apart in some violent encounter. Oh, gosh darn it. She's a beauty, isn't she? Well, is that... Oh, right. Maybe we wanted to cut it apart. Possibly. She's a beauty, isn't she? Dragos stands to the side, focused on the hulking ship as it is lowered into the yard. Looks ugly to me. No, let's ask what it is. That, my friend, is A-grade scrap. I should thank you. This place was on its last legs when you turned up, and now look at this. The ship descends slowly, its interior visible through multiple hull breaches. You struggle to gather the same enthusiasm as Dragos for this monstrous craft. You can't help but think of what became of its crew. Okay. What happened to this? What do you mean? He glances at you. I managed to convince our Savager friends to give it to me on credit. That's what happens. No. What happened to the ship? I want to know about the ship. Not my concern. And he shrugs. The ship creaks like a calving iceberg as it reaches the base of the yard. Dragos is visibly excited. I know I said you shouldn't stick around, but I'm gonna need some help with this one. The drones start to crawl over the hull with their lights illuminating flashes of dented hull. Watching, you wonder if you arrived in a similar fashion. Locked inside that container, the wreck of the SNR fighter lowered into the yard like a corpse ready to be butchered. Or was the container delivered to Dragos on its own, a womb for your rebirth into this strange station? You shudder. Perhaps if you could learn something about the ship, you might be able to trace the path that led you to this yard. Dragos squeezes your shoulder. After these past cycles, I think we're up to it. What do you think? You see the fading name of the ship emblazoned on its side. Winter Light. Alright, let's do it. He claps you on the back, glad to hear it. Come back in a few and we can make a start. A real beauty, Dragos repeats, perhaps just to himself. You take one last look at the shattered ship as the drones start cutting, and then slip out of the yard, feeling suddenly cold in the empty passage. Alright then, new drive and an upgrade point. How do I do that? Here we go. Character and upgrades. You've completed your first drive, so that is where we get these. Good. Each drive completes unlock an upgrade point you spend on upgrading your character. Access your character menu via the arrow button at the top right of the screen. Cool. That seems good. So, we can indeed do a bunch of stuff. I could go up for even... Actually, I can't, because that's 2 points. I could save this point and get up to this. So, use scrap components at home to repair condition. Oh, do I need... Oh, that's actually not that bad, is it? That is not that bad. Oh, I haven't gotten this one single time. That's sad. But yeah, scrap components, which I, of course, haven't had yet. But... yeah, that's not bad. But now that I know that interface could prove to be quite useful, I wouldn't mind that one. I also kind of wouldn't mind. Can I even... Yeah, I can take this one. And if I do... Oh, no. Don't confirm that just yet. Having this at 0 could be good. Make sure that I don't get any negatives, which is bad. But what have I had so far? I'm thinking also possibly... I'm thinking actually that interface is a good one. And also I'm looking here, Icebreaker. Agent notes give double data rewards. That sounds pretty damn great. You know what? I think I've decided this. We are going to go for some interface. So now we have a +1 on interface as well, right? Yes. Why can I click that? Oh, could I have just upgraded this? I'm not entirely sure if that is something that would have happened. Anyway, we're done with that. So now we still have the ship mine, can't do much about that. Get to know Memphis, that's going on. We can study the Winter Light, so that is now in Dragos yard. So, Dragos Nerve, is that what we're doing? No, the Winter Light here. Forensic Trawl we can do. As an Intuit, damn it. Investigating the Winter Light means picking through its systems and structures with care. It won't pay, but you might find answers. So this is where the game can become a little bit problematic in a way, because we don't get anything from this. We would be effectively wasting dice to do this. And as I'm not into it, yeah, not going to be quite easy to do that. But we also have a yard clearance, which is obviously something I can do, cutter salvage, for the engineer. For the engineer skill. Shipbreaking is tougher than slicing up blue salvage, but Dragos is happy to pay you a fixed wage if you're up to it. Cool. I'm thinking that we can't do so... Oh, not that one. I think that we can't do so much right now. Again, we are waiting for... we're waiting for Sabine to be done with her thing. So, and as I said, might not want to go to Memphis right now, as I do have this. So, yeah, I think that... yeah, and also this one. Can we do anything about this? No. No, we cannot. Oh well. So I think that going for Dragos might actually be a good thing to do. But I think you get the point. This is Citizensleeper, and it's a really, really special gaming experience. This is so far very close to sort of reading an interactive book. But an interactive book that is in a sort of you format. Not about someone else, but it's about you. And the writing... I mean, is the writing pretentious? I'm not entirely sure. I don't care so much because I think it's great. It's one of the best writings I've seen in a game in a long time. Definitely reminds me of almost like William Gibson in some ways. I'm not entirely sure, it's been a long while since I read William Gibson, but I like this a lot. And it's going to become a game where it's really a lot about the choices that you make, I think. I'm not entirely sure how much the choices you make in dialogue matters. Presumably they should matter a little bit, because you only get the one time, rather the one choice usually. So they should matter a little bit, I think, possibly. Not entirely sure, but I'm a little bit excited to keep playing this, because I want to see where the story goes. I want to see what Sabine comes up with. I want to see what happens when we go into the low end. Do we have to pay that fine every single time? Because that's going to be an issue, I think. And I want to see what happens with Memphis as well. I want to see what he's like when he sort of trusts us a little bit more. So if you are into heavily narrated games, and you know, the cyberpunk thing helps for me at the very least, makes it a little bit more interesting in my subjective opinion. But if you like narrative games, there's really no reason why you shouldn't check this out. This is a little bit exceptional in some ways, and I think that playing it further could, you know, add on to that feeling, I think. I do like this quite a lot. For now though, this has been ghostmutgaming with me, Christopher. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.